Good evening. This is CTV News for Thursday, October 2nd. I'm Byron Scott.
And I'm Patricia Vallone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, police arrest the suspect wanted for a murder that happened on Tuesday in Bowie. 19-year-old Dion Warren was tracked down by the department's fugitive squad late last night in Anne Arundel County. Warren was wanted for first-degree murder in the fatal shooting of 39-year-old Mitchell White of Bowie. Now, investigators say White was shot in the 12,700 block of Midwood Lane while trying to break up a fight among a group of teenagers in the parking lot. Warren's facial tattoos may have made him easy to spot.
Having facial tattoos of that manner does not lead to having a low profile. Certainly he had some very distinctive markings on his face, which obviously, once the investigators knew that he was the suspect, certainly helped us zone in on him, put his picture out, and certainly help the public at large be aware of his identity, his picture, and help us by calling in tips. I don't know specifically at this point if a tip led us to finding him last night, but obviously his distinctive face was certainly an asset for us in our efforts to find him.
And Warren is now in the custody of the Department of Corrections on a no-bond status.
And it's the E word that has everyone talking. The current Ebola outbreak is marked as the worst in history and has become a global health crisis.
So how is the state health department preparing just in a case that a patient makes his or her way into the region? CTV's Nora Tagori is joining us now in the studio with some answers. So First off, why don't you tell us a little bit about what this case is?
Well, the thing is that people are really worried about Ebola patients getting on the plane and coming to the United States. And so what's happening is the first person diagnosed with Ebola in the United States, Thomas Duncan, a Liberian man who is being treated in Texas. Medical authorities have stated the patient may have had contact with 100 people. That number may drop as they weed out people whose contact doesn't present a potential risk. The man flew in through Dulles Airport, and now people are asking, well, are we prepared for the virus in case it makes its way to the district? Today, the state health department held a press conference on steps they are taking to prepare hospitals in case we get an Ebola patient. This includes reporting any possible cases, a 24/7 investigation system, training healthcare providers, the development of an Ebola testing lab, and working with other states in the CDC.
Very rapidly deploy protocols, treatment recommendations, and inventorying our existing assets to make sure we are prepared to manage patients, 1 to 1,000 that would enter our system.
We always do have procedures and policies in place and ongoing training and information at the hospital level to make sure that our procedures are as safe as possible. And then when we're confronted with an organism like Ebola or an outbreak situation somewhere in the world, we take additional steps for preparedness.
It's important to remember the virus is not airborne, and it is transmitted through bodily fluids, so tears, vomit, cough secretion, and others.
It sounds like flu-like symptoms. How do you keep people from worrying about getting Ebola?
So that's the thing. People are really worried about getting Ebola if they feel like if they start having a high fever. The thing is, you cannot get Ebola unless you were in that region where the outbreak is, or you came in contact with somebody from the region. Another thing is that people are really worried about it, but about people getting on the planes if they have Ebola. The thing is, when you leave West Africa and you get on a plane, they take your temperature first. So if you have a high temperature, you might have a fever, they'll take you out and protocol happens. If not, you get on a plane, and you can't get Ebola unless the person is showing those symptoms, which don't show from 2 to 21 days of getting the virus.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
You.
Okay.
Thank you.
And it's been a long struggle for advocates, but as of yesterday, a Maryland law barring discrimination against transgender people went into effect. The Fairness for All Marylanders Act says it's now unlawful to gender identify people in employment, housing, and other areas. This comes after a more than 10-year fight for advocates to add the transgender issue to anti-discrimination laws. It's a battle supporters say was well worth it.
We would not be celebrating the Fairness for All Marylanders Act if it weren't for transgender people who stood up and really courageously shared their stories, put a face on the issue, and talked about what their lives were like, knowing that they could walk into work one day and flat out be fired and lose their paycheck, not be able to provide for their families just for being who they are and just for living as their authentic selves. Yet, in the end, the Fairness for All Marylanders Act passed with overwhelming majorities in both the House of Delegates and the Senate in the General Assembly.
Maryland now joins 17 other states and D.C. in prohibiting judgment based on gender identity.
Prince George's Fire Department is seeking the public's help in finding 3 arson suspects. Take a look at these pictures. Officials say they're wanted in connection with several blazes that happened on September 28th in the 4300 block of St. Barnabas Road in Temple Hills. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Fire Investigation Division. You can call 24 hours a day and remain anonymous. That number is 301-77-ARSON.
And the shooting death of 18-year-old Michael Brown in Ferguson and the violent protest that followed placed a national spotlight on the issues of profiling and police brutality. And from 6 to 8 tonight, civil rights groups and local leaders will hold a community forum at Flowers High School to discuss racial disparities and the justice system. Meanwhile, a student service organization at the University of Maryland College Park wants to build up relations between students and police on campus. Julian Ivey is a member of the group Do Better and says he was inspired by a scary encounter he had with officers on his first day at the school.
2 officers approached me with their hands on their weapon, telling me that I fit a description. And I was wearing a very similar shirt that I'm wearing right now and some black shorts. And I'm coming out the building on freshman welcome day, and I have my keys, and they're saying that I've already committed a crime or I'm a suspect already. It was really scary for me, honestly. Everyone says it would never happen to them until it does. I don't want to have somebody wearing a shirt saying "Rest in peace, Julian Ivey," because this could be all avoided. I don't want somebody else's name on that shirt either, and that's why we're coming together to unify the campus.
The Do Better group is hosting its first police student basketball game this Sunday, 3 p.m. at the La Plata basketball court on UMD's College Park campus. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Byron Scott.
And I'm Patricia Valone.